talking to us about hazards associated with gold refining is going to be the President Works for MMTC PAMP Private Limited, Mr. Ankur Goyal. With 27 years of experience in production and techno-commercial marketing in the Indian gems and jewelry industry, he has played some key roles in setting up manufacturing units for large jewelry organizations, including Tanishq and Vaibhav Gems, and employed this deep expertise in the setup of the world-class production facility at MMTC PAMP. He heads the precious metal refining and minting operations and drives product and process innovation that steers them towards global leadership. He holds a bachelor's and master's degree in metallurgy from the Indian Institute of Technology, Roorkee, and Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands up. Let's give a resounding welcome to Mr. Ankur Goyal. Yet again, 10 minutes of presentation followed by individual questions.
Today we will go through certain aspects of the hazards associated with refining of gold. Before I go into this, I would give a brief introduction about the company which has really embarked on this journey to emphasize how we can mitigate these hazards, because refining is a complex thing which many of you must be knowing when you are doing either chemical refining or electrolytic refining. So a bit about MMTC PAMP. We are the only LBMA accredited gold and silver refinery in India. We deal with number of products like bullion, master alloys, minted products. We also do old gold recycling, industrial product, and also make the standard reference material for various laboratories. We have also our minted portfolio, which is gold and silver coins into digital gold, and we buy old gold. We have our presence at various counters in 145 cities, touching over 700 jewelers, and also on the digital platform of Amazon, Flipkart, and other platforms. We are also have a close association with government, which is Indian Government Mint, BIS Hallmarking, World Gold Council, and the Swiss Indian Chamber of Commerce. The second most important thing which I would like to highlight is whatever we have done in the refinery has earned us these accreditations, which are the LBMA Good Delivery. We have got a license from Royal Mint for minting the sovereigns, the BIS accreditation, the Responsible Jewelry Council accreditation for both Code of Practice and Chain of Custody. The topic which I will be saying, the SA8000, is a very important accreditation because this has taken us to this journey of how we can safeguard our employees, how we can safeguard the atmosphere when we are doing the refining, and various awards which the company has got. So let's go into hazards associated with refinery of gold. First, I'll give a brief overview. I'll not take much time in the process because most of you know about the process, risk. But the main important point is on the various hazards, which are mainly, as you know, refining, the mainly hazards are fumes, the molten metal because you melt the gold and silver, and the effluent which comes. What are the various regulatory norms which are followed by us? And I think that must be followed by most of the other refiners also. So as you all know, refinery is a pyrometrical process where you melt the gold and silver. It also has a chemical electrolytic process where you do the parting, echology, and electrolysis, and you separate out various impurities which has been outlined here. But it's a complex technique. Refinery is a complex technique because what sort of products you are making, what are the, each individual company has a different mindset as to what is your inventory holding capacity and what are the various safety norms you will be adopting in a refinery. These are the four main things which are involved in a refinery. First, I'll go with the pyrometallurgical process where definitely there is incineration, where you melt all the waste. There is volatilization, which just now Enrico had explained about removing of silver, applying vacuum and heat. There is oxidation, which that is what is being done by most of the melting, and chlorination, which is the Miller process. And these are the various equipments which are used for it. As also, this is the ALS technology, which separates out impurities, I would say, except gold and copper. In quaternation and parting, you all know you take the alloy which is high in silver and you add nitric acid, you get the silver nitrate, and then you precipitate out gold, and later on you precipitate out silver. Electro refining and chemical refining, you all must be knowing very well, where we make anodes in electro refining, do the recycling through electrolysis, get sponge and convert it into bullion bars. Chemical refining, definitely you dissolve in aqua regia, you then precipitate using sodium metabisulfate. So these were the various processes used, but what happens whenever you work with these processes? First is the fumes generation. These are the various processes. So what happens in this process? First you have the fumes generation, which is the untreated carbon compounds, metal oxides, you have the heavy metals. Second is fumes by chemical process, which is untreated acids, you have NOx, you have sulfur oxides, you have chlorine. Whenever you are melting, you are always having hot surfaces, you have untreated metal spurts, you have accidental fires which are there. And the effluent which are coming are highly acidic in nature. So in these processes, pyrometallurgical, is generated during heating and melting of the metal. In the chemical refining, you are doing the gold precipitation, neutralization, and what you are generating, these are all the equations which are there, but what you are generating is mainly the NOx, SOx and the chlorine, which has to be treated. So these are the various things which are generated during the process. So how can you mitigate those things? And this is a very important thing. Now this is the crux which we have. How we can mitigate all those things is, one is by having a proper suction hood. Whenever the fumes are generated, you have the suction hood. All those fumes pass through the series of filters, because these fumes which are coming also carry gold and silver together. So you have to have filters to collect the gold, silver or the other particles, and then they are passed through the scrubber which has an alkaline solution, so that once you have the air which gets washed as it flows through the vacuum of strainers, become almost free from dust particles and exit. So in our case, what we also say is, whatever fumes which we are giving outside or whatever air we are giving outside is much more clearer than what we even breathe. So that is the technology which every refinery, many of the refineries I have seen has adopted this, and this is a very important factor which is there. Same thing is for the chemical fumes also, we have to follow the similar thing, the suction hoods, the filters, the scrubbers. Coming to the what are the effects? Now this is what I have said, ki these are the various things, how we can mitigate it, but we need to also know, if we are not able to mitigate it, what is the effect which these are going to give us. One is the molten metal. If it is there, you always know, anybody touches it, you can burn. Exposure of dust will get, when you inhale it, will give a lot of diseases. When you are melting or when you are using various tools, you have noise and vibration which has to be controlled, and most important is physical injury which has to be controlled. Now coming to the other elements, like one I have sold key, whatever is the things which are generated. Second important item is, what are the impurities which are there? Now the impurities which are cadmium, lead, selenium, tellurium, arsenic, all these are volatile oxides, and they may cause harm to your human body, and which has to be controlled. Iron, nickel, cobalt and copper are okay, I would say, but still if inhaled in terms of fumes, metallic fumes, you may have problems in your health conditions. Mercury, everybody is clear, I don't affect your nervous system. We have specially wanted to mention about lead, because lead does have effect, because we use lead even in cupellation technique, and sometimes people use lead in the melting operation also. So this may have effect to your nervous systems, but there is definitely controls which can be adopted by better work practices, better respirators which has to be used, better housekeeping. And the last point which I have told, and we are doing a lot on that, is the food supplement. You can avoid a lead, but still some amount of lead can be inhaled, and that's very dangerous. As we go along, if it goes above 50 micrograms per meters cube in your body, in the blood, then that is dangerous for your employees. So food supplements are one of the important things which can mitigate whatever you have inhaled in this thing. It can also, all these elements can also affect the aquatic and marine life which is there. I'm not going fully into the details of that. Same thing is for the effluents which are there. Mainly there are acidic solutions which are there generated during the parting and aqua regia refining, and that can be deleterious because it does have deleterious metals as soluble salts. So what do we do? How do we mitigate that? So here you need to treat them. You need to neutralize them by using a proper stoichiometric use of chemicals. Once it is neutralized, before neutralization, you have to pass it through resin treatment. Why resin treatment? Because any chemical or anything, any effluent may carry gold and silver. So here I am also talking how you can save on gold and silver, because then you have a resin treatment, then that solution goes to the neutralization, flocculation, settling, and finally filtration, where the resultant solution then can be sent to ETP, STP, where it can be then treated, and the pure water or whatever water comes out can be used even in the irrigation technology. So these are the main items, which is pH, TSS, oil grease, BOD and COD, and these are the elements which we do it in our ETP, STP, and these are directly online system goes to the pollution board. So they can see it every moment we generate, they can see it, and whether you are in the control or not. So what do? We, and this is why I'm saying that, because I would like every refinery to start adopting this, because as you go along, you can really sustain this. One is we treat all the water, we test all the water, the sludges. We also test the air quality which is going out. We also test the noise level. These are all the hazards which are there. You can see the water. These are the elements we test. Air emissions, we need to control this. And the test can be on a regular basis, because the pollution boards ask us your test for 6 months. After 6 months, if you test and these goes against higher level, you can have different implications through the regulatory board. And so this is what we test, all the elements. These are some of the levels. The red shows the higher level and the lower limit. We always try to maintain ourselves below the red line, which is there in all the elements. You can see the solid waste cadmium, ambient noise levels. So in summary, what I can say here is these are complex things in a refinery. So fumes you need to control, they are really high risk. But if you have a proper ventilation, if you have a proper equipments which are used, you can convert into a low lux. Same molten metal, if it falls on a human being, it can be really a high risk, but a proper use of fire resistant aprons, thermal gloves can convert into a low risk element. Same thing with effluents. It can cause burns, etc. But if you use, the most important thing in a refinery should be a shower, which has to be there. So if anything spills over, you can immediately use water to mitigate that this thing. And then other hazards can be physical injuries, slips and turns. There can be fire hazards, physical hazards, ergonomic hazards, workplace hazards. And so all these, some of these are low risk, and you can really mitigate by incorporating better working atmosphere in your refinery. So in order to conclude, say that gold recovery and refining is a complex process, but each refinery will have to adopt, consult, work it out, and keep on evolving to newer technology in order to make your refinery a better place to work in. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for such a comprehensive presentation.